I was told, I believe, that the principles from the procedural justice trainings are being incorporated in additional trainings, not just siloed. And I was just curious if maybe it's also it could be, if it's not already, then have it be like a standing, uh, you know, part of the review when you're deciding which trainings to update or not update when you're making the decision on what to fund producing going forward, to also incorporate, is this something that should be updated in light of the anti-bias concerns that we have and need to be
Well, those are
incorporated to that.
conversations that
Yeah.
take place all the time.
Great.
Rest
Great.
assured, those
Great.
conversations,
Hmm.
Mike and I have very robust conversations about the video, and even throughout post, all of the different bureaus. I mean, we collaborate internally to make sure that what we develop consistently, and what are we hearing from the different stakeholders, where the other bureau chiefs have, they're talking to the regional consultants. What are we hearing from the regions? So we're having those discussions on a constant basis. Please don't think that those don't occur, because they
That's
do.
great. Great. And then just my last question or comment was that from the last subcommittee meeting that I was on the training and accountability, one of the points that was raised, I think, was brought up by maybe someone in DOJ staff, noted that officers didn't necessarily see the value in the stop data yet. And so I thought that in some of these trainings, and especially going forward, it would be useful to incorporate some of the research that's been you know done or created, or analyses that have been done based on the RIPA data, particularly as it relates to bias, because there's a lot of data coming out, research coming out, and there's already existing data research that has been done specifically identifying how bias exists in policing in different ways and how it manifests in different ways. I think that would be very potentially useful to show the officers how um, that connection between the data they're collecting and being able to identify where problems exist in policing strategies in their communities.
Sure, and you're talking about yesterday's meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that meeting too, and I heard those conversations, and I think post, we will look at that. I know that agencies are looking at it too. Commissioner Warren, I heard him speak to that they're watching to see, because again, the data, depending upon how it's being captured, when it's being captured, especially with COVID and things like that. And then also, I think Sheriff Robertson talked about it, but we at Post we'll look at that too, and we'll infuse that information into training as it's necessitated, and if it fits the scope of the training. But I think that touches a whole lot of entities, but I heard that discussion yesterday. I'm aware of that discussion, and as we can infuse that into our training, and if it fits and we believe that it will be a good learning point, then sure, we'll take a look at integrating that into our training.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? We're going to go on to the public comments. Are we good right now? So I want to first start with Northern California. Do we have anybody that's online from Northern California that wants to make a public comment? Anybody? Allison, did you get any chat from anybody?
I'm going to double check.
I don't know what that is.
I will double check, but I think the folks who enter the comments will want to give their public comment. So nothing that I can see from Northern California, but I think there will be folks who have made, one or two folks who have made comments on the chat who will want to give those comments in public.
Okay. So nothing from Northern California. Do we have anybody on the line or on the Blue Jeans that's from Central California that wants to make public comments, that have written in or haven't said anything yet? Central California? And same question, Allison, nothing on chat for Central California?
No, not that I can see.
Okay. So let's go Southern California. Do we have anybody online or on video that wants to make a public comment in reference to what we've been talking today in Southern California?
Hi, this is Michelle Wittig from Santa Monica. Can you hear me?
Yes, Michelle, we can hear you.
Great. Yeah, great. Well, it's great that the spirit of Judge Lytle lives on among members of the RIPA board. And I just want to call attention to the fact that on page 49 of the first annual RIPA report, it states that civilians it should indeed be part of the officer training. So there's a good precedent for incorporating that. Of course, I'd also be grateful if the subcommittee were to recommend to the RIPA board that each law enforcement agency in California revise its training to comply with AB 392, and also whether Lexipol training materials meet the standards of 392, and if not, to please follow up with them. So anything that the subcommittee can do to advance those two goals would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Can I get your name again? I have a different
Sure.
name up on the screen.
Sure. Michelle, Michele. Last name is Wittig. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. We have another Southern California person.
Yes. My name is Richard Hilton.
Go ahead, Richard. You're on.
Okay, I will stray a little bit by making comments that cover what we had happen yesterday. The main meeting for the RIPA board was scheduled in March of this year. It was the first meeting that naturally would have followed the publication of the third annual report. It was canceled rather than postponed, and it would have provided an opportunity for those of us who found fault in that report to make comments on it. So what I speak of today will sometimes stray into what I saw in that report, but I will focus especially on what POST is doing for the training of officers, because I have some issues with POST, some personal issues with POST. So we will get there eventually. Now, the third annual report was for the most part accurate. The numbers were not a whole lot different from mine, but when it differed, the differences were rather large. And I think the differences were not errors, but falsities. And I will focus on those two eventually. So I regret that we have not had an opportunity to speak of these things, meaning that report, in a more specific way. I take inspiration from a person local by the name of Francine Maxwell, who is, I think, a principal in the NACP. Appearing before the San Diego City Council, she said, "You want me to believe that you can train officers to respect my black son. That notion is ridiculous." She didn't believe it, and I choose to believe her, because I don't believe that there will be any training of any officer to respect me in my blackness or those who look like me. The prod will come from the consequences of misconduct. The prod that we saw come to the fore a day or so ago, and I hope to see come to the fore more frequently. I take particular interest in your comment, Ms. Brown, that reality should make its way into the videos that are being produced and presented, because my objection or concern with POST has to do with the unreal video that was presented to the RIPA board about 2 years ago, and it caused me to write to POST immediately and ask them to pull it. It was a video that said there was role play where a black person claimed he was stopped for no reason, and that he was being racially profiled, to which the training's message was, there is no such thing. I asked him to remove it. A year later, I wrote and asked him to remove it, and then the CHP came after me. I believe they were sent by post or by the California Department of Justice. I can't say which one. I do not know which one, but they came after me. I believe they've opened my mail. I believe they have taken one part of my mail. They certainly have destroyed food that was sent to me from New York. We will deal with that later. I believe that whatever Post creates and puts in the training there should reflect or should include what the California Department of Justice's numbers show. Those numbers are, as I said, for the most part, right. It should acknowledge that there are massive disparities. Those disparities are at least 3 times for the stops. And then we can move forward from there. So let the curriculum be so informed, because the story that we have here is in and of itself atrocious. Let's work from that. In the final area, let us speak about the numbers that appear in the 3rd annual report, especially the numbers that deal with the so-called veil of darkness methodology. I call it the veil of darkness mythology, because there is nothing real about the methodology or the numbers that the DOJ presents. They are false. They are not close to 50-50, as the DOJ shows. The day to night is more accurately around 70-30. 70% of the stops in the day, 30% at night. The Black and the Hispanics are the people most least stopped during the day. There's a reason for that, and the reason is illustrated in COVID. The Blacks and the Hispanics are the people who run the buses, cleaning the places. They're the janitors. They're the people who work off hours, so they will be stopped more likely at night than during the day. And you should not, meaning the CADOJ or Post or anyone who is a proponent for veil of darkness, should not use that as evidence that stops are not based on race. The stops are based on occupation and times that their occupations take them out onto the streets. It is a disgrace to use that, and I'd like not to see that ever again. I think that's all.
Well, I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in Southern California wants to
Yes.
make a public statement? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Pauline? Did I lose anybody?
Colleen, if you're still there, we seem to have lost you, but I know you wanted to give a comment.
Pauline? Allison, had she written into the chat room on that?
Just that she wanted to give a comment, but not what the comment was. So we can see if there's anyone. Oh,
I'm back.
okay.
This is Colleen Cusack. Can I speak?
Yes. Go ahead, Colleen.
Thank you. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've been a defense attorney in San Diego in California for 28 years. I also am a professor. I taught at law school where I ran a traffic court clinic for 4 years. I also taught constitutional law at law school, and I taught at University of Phoenix for a dozen years. where I taught police officers who were seeking to advance in the department by getting a degree. Also for University of Phoenix, they hired me in 2003 to write their curriculum for the criminal justice course, 19 courses. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the curriculum issues spoken about. When I taught the ethics courses through University of Phoenix, what I found was a remarkable increase in the amount of plagiarism that was occurring in that class compared to the other 10 classes I was taking, and it really shocked me. And what I discovered over time is that the class asks the students to draw upon personal experiences, to offer them up as examples of their moral dilemmas and how they reconciled them. And in so doing, those people who don't have the moral fiber to address that cheat and just use another person's written paper they find on the internet. In light of my, of course, this is anecdotal, but I would imagine this would transfer over. I'm really concerned with the self-directed nature of the materials, because in that self-directed nature, there's an there's an ability, one, to mock the materials, and you have no ability as an educator, as the provider of those, to see if 100% of your students are mocking what they are doing as they are going through it. You don't have the ability to monitor who is actually doing the course. You can have unethical persons, and this would have an increase of those people, the people that feel very firmly that they don't need any training in this area, get other people to do the course for them as a favor or for payment to avoid their own responsibilities. I'm concerned that the materials, I know that they were indicated, are very, very rough right now, so I'm hopeful that there's going to be an awful lot of edits. But I saw that where police officers were depicted, they were all depicted as men. They were mostly all depicted as white men, no women. There was even the icon, the police icon was a white man in the very first screen. The one officer was either a dark-skinned white person or a light-skinned black. I couldn't determine it. There's also some stereotyping that might be being reinforced by using things like MLK Boulevard. Is that to presuppose that this is a Black predominant area, and what's the purpose of that? In terms of introducing realism into the materials, you have it all. There's already a wealth of materials you could tap into with the body-worn cameras that the police unions are opposing me and other policy advocates across the state from exposing. 80% of all criminal cases filed are filed as infractions, and there are body-worn cameras in all of those interactions. If body-worn cameras were required to be played in all traffic matters that go to trial, then where problems arose, the judges could flag those particular body-worn cameras as things that should make it into the training. And the people that are depicted in those body-worn cameras, the defendants, could be asked on the spot if they would agree to waive any sign of release for that to occur, so that you could use those materials. You wouldn't have to wait a whole year to find actors and train them and have them go through all this stuff. You have the tapes already. Now, I have been up against unbearable obstacles in getting these revealed to me in traffic court cases in which I'm representing homeless persons pro bono. And it's gone over a year now where the city attorney of San Diego has refused to provide it for me and has told me that the police officers, it's their obligation to do it. So we've got a big issue with transparency and the police, and that goes hand in hand with trust. And that brings me to my next point, that these post-training materials need to be widely available in the public. Certainly if there's something that needs to be redacted a line or two, okay, but there seems to be no reason of keeping this a secret, these training materials. They're relevant as an attorney perspective to cross-examine the officer in terms of they rely all the time and say my opinions are based on my training and experience. But yet if we don't have the post materials, we have no idea if their behaviors actually do comport with the training that they were provided. And since in most traffic infraction matters, persons are representing themselves, that's the general public that would need access to these post materials so that they could adequately defend themselves in court. So I don't want to take up more of your time. Just want to make sure also make sure that the training materials are training people how to drop their biases, be more aware of their biases, and not just simply write reports that don't send any red flags to anybody that the action was racially motivated. Don't teach them how to avoid being caught as being racial, which some of the training seemed to suggest, and how to write the report to avoid their racial thoughts. So also, we have an awful lot of police officers for decades now who have been trained that if you pause to think, that means you're dead. So how is this training going to actually counter that, going to dismantle that idea? You have this gray area that was mentioned, where we have these gray areas, and we're going to bring in people randomly who are going to share their thoughts and stuff. Well, that gray area is now changing your whole curriculum when you insert that into a process. And everything that's said in that gray area discussion could negate the beginning and the end of that training. So be very, very careful when you inject gray matter and leave that as a wild card in terms of what can be introduced into the discussion. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Colleen Cusack. I appreciate your comments. We're still in Southern California. We're kind of running out of time. Do we have any other public comments from Southern California? That sounds like a negative, Allison.
I haven't seen any others. Before we move on to next steps, we did want to go back to the minutes because we double-checked procedure, and it is okay since the board does have to approve the work of the subcommittee, people can vote to approve the minutes even if they were not at the meeting. They do not have to abstain, so we wanted to see if we were able to approve the June 12th and November 14th subcommittee meeting minutes from 2019. So before we moved on, I just wanted to see if we were able, while we still have a quorum on the line, if we were able to do that.
Allison, this is Angela.
Oh, I was going to say there was already a motion on the table, so we could
Right.
just go forward with the vote. Sorry.
Okay. And this is Angela Sierra, and I will add my vote to approve the minutes.
Hi, Allison. It's Commissioner Stanley. I was able to get on just before the public comment started. Sorry I missed most of the meeting, but I'm on if you need a quorum for the minutes.
Well, great. Commissioner Stanley, we're just voting first to approve the June 12th minutes. So Sheriff Robinson had been the first and Angela the second. So are you giving a yes vote to approve the June 12th minutes then?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then for the November 14th, 2019 minutes, we wanted to see, is there a vote for, we wanted to take a vote for those. So is there a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Angela and Commissioner Stanley spoke at the same time. So, Angela, if you make the motion, Commissioner Stanley, are you willing to second it?
I second.
Okay, great. We take a vote we'll do a roll call vote. Sheriff Robinson.
Yes.
Great. Commissioner Stanley, Commissioner Stanley.
Yes.
Sandra.
Yes.
Angela.
Yes.
And Melanie.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all very much. So Sandra, I think we're at next steps.
Oh my goodness. I have been writing like a little chipmunk. So if my cohorts in all this, if I skip something or miss something, please help me out here. So what's coming up next? We're looking forward to what Kimberly Newport Hewitt had talked about, the AB 953 and the training webinar. Recall she said we're coming into our new waves, and it looks like we're going to be waiting for some information on the post certification of a 4-hour class that will be administered 1 day per month. So if I'm not wrong, I think Kimberly said in wave 4 we're going to have 400 agencies. Was that coming out? Was that starting in August? Was starting in August. Okay, my notes are all.
No, the wave 4. So wave 3 starts January 1st to collect.
Oh, okay.
And then wave 4 comes the following year.
Okay, all right. So that's a whole lot. See.
Yes. So no, but wave 3 is starting to collect as of January 1st. I'm just, I believe wave 4 there might be a 1 year, and I will confirm that.
No, you were right the first
Okay.
time. Wave 4 starts January 1st, 2022.
2022, right.
Okay.
Wave 3, January 1st, 2021.
Okay, so wave 4 was 2022. Okay. All right, so we're looking forward to those results. Damon wanted to give access to some of his colleagues who are law enforcement officers who might have comments on that. So I recall making that. So we're going to be looking forward to that. Okay, Aisha came on board. We talked about the basic racial identity course with its 5 years and or less update. So I think, goodness gracious, I've got my notes everywhere. We also talked with Catherine about, well, actually we talked with Mike, and Mike, thank you. Mike Barnes explained all of the different types of videos, and right now, I think what we're focusing on is the self-paced course that Catherine was talking about, and so we'll be looking forward to the finalization. That's what was going to be done in August, the finalization for the self-paced. And what else we got going? Any help here? I think that's all I have. Did I miss something?
And I think what DOJ can do is work with Post to have a schedule so that we know when there are going to be opportunities for the board members, the subcommittee members to review the different courses and trainings that are being worked on or in production and or being developed as well, so that board members can serve as subject matter experts. And I know Catherine as well has been in touch with some of you, but if you all have ideas for members of the community who should also be reviewing these videos, we can help get that information to Catherine, or you can send it to her directly. But I know they are looking for, not just board member input, but input from other community members who would be important stakeholders in these trainings.
Okay, that's all that's what I have right now. Did I miss anything? My partner over here, Melanie, can you think of anything I might have missed?
Excellent job, Sandra.
Not excellent, but okay, thank you.
And so I think we can, at DOJ, work with Post to connect all of you, and when there are opportunities to either serve as subject matter experts or give feedback on the various courses, we will certainly let you all know and figure out a way to do that. And we'll also, with the AB 953 training that Kimberly discussed, be in touch with you about doing sort of pilot run of that training with the subcommittee members who are interested.
Thank you, Allison. I'm sorry.
No, it was a lot which is great for this subcommittee. We're happy to have a robust discussion and give Post a lot of feedback and discussion and things to think about as they move forward with the trainings as well. So I think this is an important part of keeping the RIPA board and post in close communication so that we can be talking about and giving feedback on all of the work that they are doing. So I think, Aisha, did you want to just, I know Makai's not on the line, but just say a word or two to close out the meeting in terms of the service appreciation?
Yes, thank you. Makai Ali is terming off the board. He was an original member. He was appointed by the Senate Pro Tem and serves as the Vice President and past President of the Compton Unified School District. He was an original member. He served 4 years, and he served on the State and Local Policies and Accountability Subcommittee and the Post-Training and Recruitment Subcommittee, including 1 year as a co-chair. So we just want to thank him, although he's not here with us today, for his service to the board, the agency partners, and all Californians for his volunteer work on RIPA in this important area. Okay, that's it.
Very nice.
And I think Nancy, I think Nancy was going to also just say a quick word of thanks.
Yes, and I'm sorry that member Ali was not able to join us today. He has been an original board member, and he brought a really great perspective to the board, being on the Compton School Board, and so we will miss his voice. I also wanted to let this subcommittee know that we will be asking those. There are going to be several board members whose 4-year term will be ending in July, and we are going to ask those board members to come to the first few minutes of the September board meeting and just to thank them as a body, so that it's more unified and less disjointed than just within the subcommittee meeting. And we hope to have new board members there as well. And one last thing, I don't think we covered this in the beginning, but it is most likely that the September board meeting will be, well, it's almost certain that it will be a virtual meeting similar to this. And we are looking into expanding our video production capabilities. These subcommittee meetings, we've only had 2 so far, but they've been very well attended, up to 50 to 60 participants. So statewide, we hope to have even more public participation. And I would just want to say that it's the one very positive thing, I think, coming out of this COVID-19 is that we are now getting a lot more public participation in committee meetings, and I hope to see that in the board. And I really want to thank not just the board,
Nancy, you just cut out.
Oh, yeah. We lost her.
We lost Nancy. I think I can extend our thanks to all of you and to all of the members of the public who participated in the subcommittee meeting, because we do appreciate all of your comments and input, and we do take them into account in our discussions, both in the subcommittee meetings and for the report itself.
Okay.
So with that, Sandra, I think we can, and Melanie, I think we can adjourn.
Yeah, that was a long meeting.
Yes, so thank you all too for hanging in there for the meeting, and it's great to have the robust discussion. So thank you all for sticking with it.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you all.
Everybody.
Everyone, have a great day.